DC fanboys are upset that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is about killing the Justice League. Ooh! What? Are you saying the Justice League can actually die? Are you saying that Superman isn't invincible and that Batman can actually lose a fight? Are you telling me that power level nonsense is completely bunk and whoever wins a fight is entirely up to the writers? Like, this is sacrilegious to DC fans, right? This is disrespectful to the legacy of the characters who always win their fights, who are invincible, who are unstoppable, right? Those are the DC characters. They are the peak of masculine fiction, right? They would never, ever lose to a mid-string DC team like the Suicide Squad, especially since they're led by a woman. Oh, it's terrible. Yeah, what a joke, okay? Like, this is bad for, like, a lot of, like, genuine reasons, but the thing that, like, gets me about this is just how upset people are about about like the Justice League characters, DC's premier superhero team, like losing fights, right? Because that's what it really comes down to, I think, is that it has nothing to do with like the Suicide Squad or the game or anything like that. Like the issue is that like the audience for this stuff doesn't like seeing their characters lose ever because they've been gaslit by their by the stupid company that manages these characters, that like these characters should be treated like they're completely invincible, right? Batman can beat Superman, like Wonder Woman gets beefed up considerably. The Flash is like so unfathomably fast that you can't even wrap your mind around it, right? Like no character can like outperform DC, right? They're supposed to be the most busted universe there is, right? They could single-handedly fix every problem in any universe except their own. They are they are the ultimate in superhero fiction. They're supposed to be strong. They're supposed to be strong. And Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is a really good example as to how inflexible mainstream superhero storytelling actually is, because you can't do you can't do something like this, right? People will not allow you to portray the Justice League as being like corrupt or needing to be taken out or being evil or whatever, and needing to be dealt with by other characters, right? Because they're supposed to be the good guys, right? That's always been the thing about DC is they're just so unwilling to acknowledge that like maybe they can take different directions with the characters, or maybe they can do something a little bit different, or maybe they can evolve, or maybe they can just do something unexpected. But no, like every single time, like people attach some kind of conspiracy to it, right? People attach some kind of like malicious conspiracy to the idea that like, oh, Batman gets shot in the head in this game. Oh, they hate Batman. No, they're trying to do something different. Like what is the big deal? And like this is this kind of goes into what I've been saying for a little bit when it comes to like anti-woke content creators. People like Raging Golden Eagle, people like Clownfish TV, those guys. Like a lot of them are getting uppity about basically nothing. It is to be completely honest with you, like Batman losing a fight should not be a big deal in the grand scheme of things, right? Because if you were a fan of the character, yeah, you want to see him struggle, you want to see him grow, you want to see him evolve, you want him to beat the characters that beat him, right? But like, no, that's not what people want to see. People just want to see Batman win because he's Batman, right? There's no real investment in the stakes. There's no real investment in the plot. Like Batman is just expected to win every time because he's Batman, right? Never mind that like he's not the whole like power scaling thing between him and Superman makes no sense. Like Batman is the best member of the Justice League just because he's Batman and he's popular, right? You know, let's not. It's it's such a joke, right? And these anti woke content creators are, really do try and make all of these situations out as if they're like politically motivated, pure primarily, and that they're that the creators just don't have any respect for the source material, right? That they don't have any idea what they're doing, but like it has nothing to do with like politics, right? It has nothing to do with like the beliefs of the creators or anything. Like they're just trying to make a product. The real problem with games, with comics, with television, with film is that the creators don't have the talent to make what they're doing look interesting. This is way more important than the propaganda because when you actually go back to the 90s, to the 80s, to the 70s, to the 60s, I'm sure even the 50s and the 40s. Yeah. I know. I'm aware of the 50s and 40s. Like propaganda has always been a part of these big Hollywood productions, right? Like it's an essential part of what they are, right? And the difference from back then and now, right, is that they had actual talent to mix the propaganda in with actual entertaining storylines, right? When you look at something like Dinosaurs from 1991, right, you have like amazing puppetry, interesting plot lines, a unique setting, but it's mixed in with like some of the most extreme sitcom propaganda I've ever seen in my life, right? On one hand, the show is well produced, right? It's interesting, it's funny, it has memorable moments, the ending, but it's also like very, very propaganda heavy, right? And you would never know it if you weren't actively looking for it, right? But with like more recent projects, right? The talent has like slowly ebbed away. There is no talent. Like the reason you're supposed to watch these shows, play these games, read these comics is because of the propaganda. You're supposed to be invested in like what these people are saying and like the causes they're championing for and not there for the actual plot, right? And it just kind of it doesn't work that way, right? It's not interesting. With something like Suicide Squad, right? This was uh, this was supposed to be a thing that was supposed to make Harley Quinn a a first string DC character. This was supposed to be a big deal for them, and it fell flat on their face because they failed to really make Harley Quinn an interesting character. It has nothing to do with like the politics behind like why they made the shift because I think we all could agree that like the character is interesting enough to survive without the Joker, right? Like that can still be part of her history and her character origin story, but like there are there are things she could have done outside of that, right? I don't think there's any denying that like Harley Quinn is the most well respected newer Batman character since like the '90s, right? She's like a mainstay now. Um, the issue with the game has nothing to do with like the propaganda. The issue is with like the shift in her characterization or like they just failed to make it interesting. And I do think this is the critical mistake that I keep seeing everyone make in regards to like this kind of observing what's wrong with like entertainment and what's wrong with film, TV, movies, is that people aren't acknowledging the actual problem. People are focusing on superficial things that don't matter instead of the actual quality of the product.